Welcome to the podcast. People, Freedom Cast listeners, happy to have you here. Me and Miranda are rocking our Archangel Ink t-shirts today that Rob was gracious enough to gift us for Christmas.
Yes.
So, loving it.
They're very nice.
I probably worn this like 3 times already this week. I love the shirt. I wish wear it all the time now. I love doing videos with it. It's great.
TMI. No.
It smells fine. It's new.
It's okay. It still smells new. So
It smells new. It actually really does. It smells new and it's great.
So what are we going to be talking about today?
We're going to be talking about Survivor. I forgot you wanted me to do the introduction, and I just talked about Archangel Ink, and then I totally forgot what we were doing.
Yes.
We're talking about Survivor. So if you are a Survivor fan and have not seen the most recent finale, turn this off. There will be spoilers. We're going to talk about who wins. I'm going to give you time right now. Turn it off. If you get mad at me for spoiling it, you were warned. I hate spoilers myself. So we're going to talk about the latest season.
For the other 99.9% of you that have not seen this season and do not care, then you can listen. But,
yeah,
you know, it's going to be about Survivor.
This is going to be another fun episode. Miranda and I have done episodes in the past that we can link to in the show notes as well when we do this. We've done a fun one on Marvel movies, and we've also done one on the best moments from The Office. So we try to mix in some crazy, just fun episodes just to entertain you in between the more serious content that we share. So this is just one of those. But yeah, we'll link to those.
We just like to have a random one every now and again that's not about personal development or anything. It's just about like, hey, like, we are nerds and we like Marvel movies and The Office and Survivor.
We have an interesting, like, I feel like, yeah, everyone has their own interesting sets of, like, that doesn't really make sense. But that, like, okay, you like axe throwing, but you also like snow tubing. Like, that doesn't really work. You know what I mean? But we like, not at the same time. That would be really cool. Oh, you know what? We're going to talk about something else real quick that I saw on Facebook. We're already going on a bunny trail.
Facebook. Okay.
No, but they have this thing called, now I can't think of what it's called. You basically, it's like bow and arrows and dodgeball. It's like, they called it like arrow ball, but like, what would you call that? Like bow ball. It's not, it was none of those like stupid names.
Dodgeball?
Dodgeball, yes. I think that's what it was, for real.
Oh, wow.
No, but they have this thing where you like, you go around and they have this like, they're just like rubber tipped, like the arrows don't even hurt.
They're not real arrows. That's good to
No.
know.
But you're playing dodgeball.
Dodgeball to the death.
But like dodge arrow. So you're doing like these things, but then you're shooting each other with these like foam tipped arrows. Like it looked like the coolest thing in the world. You know, it made me think of Whirly Ball from one of our podcast guests and one of our friends, Kayla Savage. It just made me think of her immediately because I was like, I know her and Sean would play with us.
Oh, yeah.
So like if anyone out there has played that or has an arena, invite us. I would love to do that. Like I feel like that could be my new thing.
Is it like dodgeball, though, if you catch it, the other person, like you have to catch the arrow? Oh.
I'll show you the video later, but I just thought of it because we're talking about random things. Like, wow. I just was like, I can't even believe I forgot to show you that.
That's interesting. Yeah, we'll have to try that out sometime.
So we're talking about Dodgeball today and Survivor.
Dodgeball.
It's going to be random. Yeah. We're just going to be talking about some different things here. But yeah, if you haven't heard of that, then that's a crazy fun thing.
And I just want to say here, like, it's not... Something about Survivor. So
let's get it back on track. Thank you. Thank you, honey.
I watched maybe, I don't know, a few episodes here and there, like growing up. It was never like a huge thing. We never sat around watching Survivor. But Jordan, yeah, he's always just loved it. And then somehow this happens when you're married. You just like all of a sudden you find yourself watching like season after season, and then I'm like, no, you can like start watching that season without me. I don't want to get sucked into it. And then you like, I happen to be around when you're watching one episode, and then I'm like, oh man, like who's gonna get voted out? Like, and it just escalates. And now, I mean, it's just like I can't believe that I'm watching the current season of Survivor as it comes out.
Yeah,
it's just like. I don't even know myself anymore. Yeah,
just a side note there too. It's an interesting. I'm just gonna go on side notes today. That's all I got. No, but it's an interesting thing about like marriage and relationships in general. How you do like you start to pick up on like interests that the other person has. Like I have sat down and watched, and I'll admit it, I've watched seasons of Downton Abbey with Miranda.
Yeah.
Now Miranda has this weird thing that she does with all her TV shows and seasons that I feel like you guys all should know about. So I'd listen in on this one. will skip around randomly, even if she hasn't seen it. Like her binge watching is like she may skip an entire season because she reads like what it's about. And she's like, that's not interesting. She'll skip ahead. I don't know how you can do that.
No, I did that.
To me,
yeah.
that's like, but you miss what happened.
But I mean, it's so easy to catch back up. Like, I mean, the shows I'm watching, you know, they'd be like Grey's Anatomy, Gossip Girl. Those shows, I would just be like, I don't, you know, I'm not big on that storyline. And like,
I'm not big on those shows, but
a few episodes ahead, and then you know, it is a weird thing. But you can't do that with Survivor because then you'd miss a lot. So.
Yeah, Survivor is a pretty awesome show. I know there's certain people out there now. If you're still watching Survivor, or maybe if you haven't watched it, you definitely should, because it's just so interesting. So why do we like it?
Why do we like it? Well, the biggest thing is that the game has evolved so much from the first season. So at the beginning, it was a lot about the like survival aspect of it and having to be on the island and, you know, how are they going to make fire? Those types of things were just a really big deal in the like first seasons.
Yeah, and they like I read something once that I mean the producers weren't even sure if they were going to make it more about like surviving in that way or like surviving with the people. Like they didn't know how it was going to play out.
Yeah, but then it became so much more about the strategy, about the people and how they decide who gets voted out, and that became the biggest part of it. And being on an island, obviously, without, you know, your creature comforts for 39 days is, you know, never going to be easy. But the bigger part of it is the strategy, and that's been just escalating exponentially every season. It's just crazy because then you have a strategy that works, but then it morphs and it evolves, and then the next year they know that strategy works, so then they go to the next level. And so it's how many seasons have they had?
This last one was the 37th.
That's a lot.
Yeah, so
somebody's still watching it other than us.
Yeah, so for the people that don't know, there's usually like 18 to 20 castaways go to this island, and for 39 days they're battling it out and voting each other off. So it always ends in a vote. So you're voting for people to be off the island, whether you think that person is not helping your team, or when it goes to the individuals, if you think that person's a threat. So you're voting people off, and eventually the last man standing or woman standing wins $1 million. That's just a very short like intro to the show. But yeah, the way the strategy has evolved, like it's just some of the coolest television, because each season is just like, yeah, like Miranda said, exponentially growing on the past season. Like this latest season we watched was super interesting because the final 6, you looked at all the final 6 and you're like, none of these people are really threats. But they were threats because they voted out in succession the top level threats in the game. Like,
they were threats because they weren't threats. And that's how far the game has come, that it's like, and then next season it's going to be like the people that aren't threats are going to be bigger threats than the people that are threats. You know what I mean?
No, you're right. Yeah, because it continually just grows
like,
on itself. And then, I mean, there's just deep level strategy. Like the one person was saying, like, I don't want to get that person out because he's, like Miranda's saying, because he's a threat, because he's the shield for me. Mm-hmm. Because then if he's a threat and is still in the game, then I'll be able to be dragged along. Like,
what do they call it? A meat shield?
Yeah.
A meat shield. If it's just like a big buff man, they're like, yeah, we'll keep him in now because he's a threat. And then they won't see me as a threat. It's
like the deep level. It's like, because he's a threat, then I'm a threat, and then they're a threat. And then, like, you just end up, like, working yourself in a circle, and then you get voted out. Like,
yeah. So who, I mean, I think we both agree on who our favorite person was on this season.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, like, overall, Boston Rob.
Yeah, Jordan
If you've seen anything of Survivor,
man crush on
Boston Rob has been on 4 seasons of Survivor, and he is the best Survivor ever. But as far as this season, we loved Christian. I mean, he was just, he was so interesting, and then he was hardcore, too. He stood up on a pole for 5 or 6 hours to win immunity one time.
And he was just...
And he talked the entire time.
He talked the entire time. And the guy he was up against, I'm blanking on his name. Alec. He came in with, like, super confidence. He, like, was telling himself the whole time, like, I'm going to win this. I'm not coming off this until I win this challenge. But Christian had just a little bit more motivation, and they were up there for so long. And Christian spent the whole time, because he's, like, an uber nerd, just talking and talking and talking. And he just eventually wore down the other guy, and like Christian's just this like scrawny, scrawny little thing.
Scrawny little robotics engineering nerd.
Yeah, and he just like the fact that it helps to remind you that it's all in your head usually, because he went up there and he was like, he had more confidence that he wasn't going to step down than the other guy, even though the other guy was physically stronger, and he was able to, defeat him.
Yeah, and I love that you brought that challenge up, because I mean that is just one of the reasons we love Survivor so much, because you see these real life, it's confidence. It's like the other guy, Alec, he went up there, he said, I am not stepping down. I am not going to lose. Like, he convinced himself that he didn't care about the pain or what was going on. He convinced himself, like, I am not going to lose this challenge. And like, it really is. There's so many things that are in your head, like, I'm going to do this. Mm-hmm. And like, I'm not going to let anything defeat me. But once you finally start letting these thoughts, I mean, for him in that moment, like, it wasn't necessary. I mean, he ended up stepping down, but he was like ready to pass out. I mean, he had been up there for 5 hours in the sun.
He was like, at his physical limit.
I don't think there was anything like that he did wrong necessarily, but it was just cool to see his willingness and ability just to stand up there.
And I apply this strategy to my life as well, because if I...
You do apply this strategy
I do.
To your life.
If I pull out like a jar of pickles out of the fridge and I tell myself...
It's not what I was expecting.
I tell myself, like, oh man, this is like going to be hard to open. I'm not going to be able to open this. Then I can't open it. And I just live like, ugh, but then I have to stop. And then I tell myself, I give myself a pep talk. Like, you are a strong, independent woman. You do not need to get Jordan to open this jar of pickles. You can do this. And then I pep myself up, and then I'm like, ah! And then usually I get it.
I was just saying.
Then I still, It's good to have you around as backup, but it does make a big difference if you go in confident versus not confident. So if I'm like, I'm going to open this jar of pickles, it's like...
Yeah, because I think it can often like lend itself. I mean, people could think, you're arrogant for thinking, I'm never going to need help open this jar of pickles, and that's not what it is. I think there's a fine line there between... People
do get really arrogant about that.
I mean, I'm arrogant. I don't need help to open my pickle jar. I don't even really like pickles. No, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like, I think there's some people that think that line of thinking, like, they think Alec is arrogant for going up there and thinking that. That's an arrogant thought, like, I'm not stepping down. But like, I think it if you're coming across that way, then you need to be careful. But I don't think that's necessarily arrogance. I don't think confidence is arrogance. I think if you're looking at someone else like, well, you suck, you're gonna lose, like, that's arrogance. But if you're just talking to yourself and the way you're thinking with things, I think it's a great way to think. I mean, I feel like how many times in my life where I've been like, I'm gonna do that, like, I know that I'm gonna hit this shot or whatever. I can't think of an example. I wish I could off the top of my head, but like, you have that self-fulfilling prophecy, like, I'm going to do this. Mm-hmm. And then you are so much more likely to do it because you are confident about it. Like, it's a crazy fact of life.
It is. It's so cool. And I have to really, like I said, it takes me a couple tries, because I have to really focus in and be like, because I can have very negative self-talk sometimes. So I have to be like, okay, no, like, I am good at this. Like, stop freaking out. Like, this will be okay.
Yeah.
But it is important to add that, you'd never want to put other people down, and you have to ultimately ask for help if you can't do it, which is fine. Yep. It's fine to ask for help, but your chances are much better if you have that little confidence.
Yep. And then just talking about back to Survivor, threat level, Alec was voted out that night. I mean, it's an interesting thing. He gave it his all, mm-hmm. lost the immunity challenge, and then people said, this guy just stood up there for 5 hours. Like, he's obviously a threat. And that's just the interesting thing about Survivor. As soon as you get, like, you need to be as much of a threat, because we probably should mention this. When you get to the end, this is like the most important thing about Survivor. When you get to the end, the people you voted out previously, like the 10 before the final 3, become the jury, and they actually have to vote for a winner. So the people that are in the game that you voted out, you had a hand in voting out, have to vote for you to win $1 million, and that's how you win. Mm-hmm. So it's very interesting. Another
interesting thing about how the game has evolved, because originally, if you played a lot of strategy and you were like sneaky and intense and switched alliances, people wouldn't vote for you at the end, because
they didn't respect it.
They're like, oh, that person's like, I want to vote for the nice person that was like kind to their alliances. And now, if you don't like break your alliances and make big moves, they're not going to vote for you. And it's been like a complete like switch, because if you're just nice, like this season, Kara, she was like super nice the whole time. We have like a whole thing on her too because she was always like she was good, but she was always just like fell just like a little bit short.
I felt bad for her because I think she could, like, if she had. I mean, she had choices to make some big moves and didn't. So that was huge.
Almost made some big moves. Almost won some immunity challenges. Almost won that like final immunity challenge to make it to the top 3, and then like almost got the fire building challenge. But she was just always like a little short, and I was like, ah.
Yeah, but you can't win if you're falling a little bit short. You gotta take the right timing.
But it would be interesting to see if she would have gotten any votes because she was super nice like the whole way through, like a great person to have on your tribe. But they talk about building your Survivor resume now, but she didn't really have anything on her Survivor resume when
No.
The Nick who won was.
Oh, we gave it away.
Yeah. I feel like nobody cares except us.
What, about the spoilers?
Well, about Survivor in general, but...
What are you talking about? Survivor's awesome. Okay, so you haven't seen it, you should watch it. But yeah, if you have seen it, then you're probably digging this.
Oh yeah, no, it's so...
Don't shoot our podcast down here.
No, I love talking about this. Okay. It's like,
people
we get really like... It's so fascinating. It's a fascinating like look into humanity and how people interact and groupthink and... friendships and alliances and what you'll do for $1 million. It's like there's just so many facets.
Yeah, it just delves into humanity. It delves into like how we function in a group setting, and it's like it's insane. And it's like, but it forces you to have those conversations. It forces you to talk about like who you're going to vote out and stuff. Like, I don't know. I think there's no other show where Miranda and I are like freaking out during it and then chatting afterward about all these like life things. Like even if you just need a little spark in like your discussion with like a loved one or something, even if you need a little bit like need a little bit more to like talk about, like even if you hate the show, you're still gonna have something to talk about.
Because a lot of shows will watch together. I mean, like we love The Office, and but we don't have major discussions afterwards about like what happened in the episode. And, but when we watch Survivor, there's always something to talk about, and there's always some interesting aspect of what just happened. And there were some tribal councils in this like season that were just so interesting. Like we were just like, it was like watching football. We were like, yeah. What? We were just freaking out. It was so funny.
It's so good.
The best one. So this season was David versus Goliath. So it kind of had those alpha people in the David.
I love the themes.
Or the Goliath tribe, and then the Davids who've had to kind of work harder in their lives and fight their way up the ladder. And it came...
Do you think I think we're Davids. I don't think we're Goliaths.
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting.
What are you?
What are you? Yeah, are you a David?
Are you a David?
Goliath?
Or a Goliath? I guess you'd probably choose David because you don't really want to get hit with a slingshot. But I mean,
I know. I feel like you kind of want to. You don't really want to be a Goliath, right? But
I don't know.
I don't know. That's
some people probably would. Like, yeah, I'm a Goliath.
Yeah,
I win. But if you have confidence.
But they were outnumbered. There were more Goliaths than Davids, and it was so awesome that this.
Well, in the beginning they were even, but you're saying at the end.
This is the best tribal council. There were more Goliaths than Davids, and the Davids got together and worked together because they had 3 different advantages, and the one was what was it? You got an extra
steal a vote.
Steal a vote. You're gonna remember this better than I
do. There was a steal a vote, and there was a hidden immunity idol, which I didn't end up using, and there was a immunity blocker nullifier. I was gonna say blocklifier. I thought of it halfway through. But it was immunity idol nullifier.
Yeah, each individually.
For the first time in Survivor history.
They found it all individually, but then they worked together, which is like sometimes you need to work together.
But that's like I was telling Miranda, like when they were working together, I was like, this is like almost a Survivor first for this generation of like the complexity of a Survivor strategy, because we've come so long of like individual game for the last tons of seasons, and then this season it's like coming full circle. It's like, well, that's been the strategy, so we have to switch it around, so we're going to work together. It was because
separately they would not have been able to do this, but
absolutely not.
They used 2 of their 3 advantages together and just like shocked the Goliaths, got a Goliath voted out, and just the way they played it was just perfect. It was one of those tribal councils where we were just like jumping up and
Yeah.
down. And you want to root for the underdog, so you're like, the Davids are outnumbered and they're working
Yeah.
together and they're triumphing over evil.
Yep.
You just get excited about it. So,
And they did another, this is really kind of in-depth. Nobody probably cares about this, but I'm going to say it anyway. So I'm going to say that because it's very in-depth. But they had the first minority split vote ever, and I didn't know that it was the first ever until Nick said it at the end. But because there was 2 idols used, the votes got split between them. So the David said, we're going to split our votes so that we can get a Goliath out still. Like, it was genius. And the only way, again, they could have done it
strategy talk
is because they worked together. But
Yeah.
at the very top level, they all worked together and they decided to work together. And that, like, as far as like advantages go and like numbers wise, that doesn't happen in Survivor anymore. It just doesn't, because everyone's trying to play their own game. But
it was beautiful. It was so well played. And that was just one of the things that really gave Nick like that extra, he had all of those, like he was at the bottom, and those things are what built his resume up so that he did ultimately win. Now,
and I will say, in the middle, I'm gonna pat myself in the back here. In the middle of the season, pretty early on, I told Miranda, and she can confirm this, correct?
Yes, you did. He's like, I think that Nick is on track to win this season, and he was right. He won. So.
And it was weird. It was only because like he had made like not any crazy moves, but it was almost like his relational game. Like, they showed him building one-on-one relationships, which is huge for Survivor. I mean, I think at the end you'll hear people say, "Well, you never formed a one-on-one relationship with me." Like, you're not gonna get that person's vote. Number one, because you don't have a relationship, but there's no respect there. They're not gonna have the respect for your game. So it's very interesting how you have to play it.
And that's another real life thing, like if you want someone to vote for you, like to give you $1 million, like you have to have that relationship with them, because a lot of times at the end they do give like kind of like a sob story too, which is always kind of like
I think they could rework like
There's
how
so much
they do
to talk about
they do the final like.
But that's
it's not as interesting as it used to be, because you're like, they're gonna vote for the player that played the hard. Like,
I
knew Nick was gonna win. Like, as soon as he went to the end, I'm like, there's no way he's gonna lose.
Yeah. Well, you never know.
Almost regardless of what they say it just doesn't seem like what they say to the jury really matters anymore. But go ahead.
Yeah. So just that's something to apply to real life as well, is that building those relationships, like it always comes down to like relationships, no matter what it is. If you want to, get a job, or if you want someone to help you out, if they like know you and they like respect you, like you were saying, they will definitely help you out. And it's all about building relationships. And that's what it's so cool how it translates into Survivor, because it's a heightened level of intensity, and $1 million is on the line, but it still comes down to like building those relationships. And like the respect level has changed, because originally it was respect for them being like good to their alliances and a nice person, and now it's like the respect is like your game.
Yeah, and now like alliances don't even exist anymore.
It's crazy.
It's almost like alliances are non-existent. They call it voting blocks now. Like, they don't even stick. I mean, it's just weird.
They zero in on like who's the biggest threat, and then they're like bloop bloop, and they just like switch to get out like who's the next biggest threat, next biggest threat. And so they ended up with these people that were kind of the ones that are guiding the votes, but not the ones that are like in the like ultimate lead, because those people get chopped down real quick.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Yeah. So can we talk for a second about Angelina? Because
we can.
Because Angelina was the most interesting Survivor personality I feel like we've seen in a while. We could not decide if like is she super annoying or is she just super weird? She just had this very interesting way of playing the game that was, you just never knew what she was going to do. And she sacrificed her chance at an immunity idol to get more rice for the tribe. And she
I thought
she
that
labeled
was,
it
super interesting.
Labeled it as a selfless act. But then the rest of the season, it was like she just kept bringing it up again, and like anybody that she could like talk to, she'd be like, oh yeah, like remember when I got rice for everybody? And I think it was interesting because like nobody really asked her to do that. She kind of like got everyone together and was like, I'm gonna ask Jeff if we can get rice, and then so I think it didn't mean as much because no one was really like asking for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, you think about in life, like if you're creating a selfless act. Like you can't really do that. Like you can't be the one to say like hey guys, we need this really nice thing, and then when it comes to it, give up your chance or give up or sacrifice something in order to get that, because then everyone else is like, thank you for doing that, but yeah, that was your idea. Like it doesn't mean as much.
Yeah.
But you can apply. Whoa.
Whoa.
You can apply that to life as well.
Yeah, and she had another really funny moment where she found a clue to a hidden immunity idol, but then she had to dig out this ladder, which was really intense what she had to do to get this idol. She had to dig out this ladder that they had buried in the sand, and she had to go find it like up on this rock. She had to use the ladder to find it, but she climbed up and she got stuck and she couldn't get back down, and it was just a mess. She dropped her clue, and then
she's just a mess.
Yeah, she ended up getting like Mike and Nick to help her out with it because she just couldn't do it. She didn't want to get stuck up there on that rock face again. So
yeah.
So she just and she also like made plans to get people's jackets when they got voted out. Just so many interesting things that I've never seen anyone try to do.
No.
But she was so, I just can't think of the right word for her.
I think like she lacked a little bit of self-awareness, and I think that is like, they talk about that in Survivor. I mean, that's huge for Survivor, also life too. Like I think people can, I mean, they're on an island, they're like don't have food. Like I would probably be very delusional. I'll admit it. Like,
it's easy to judge sitting comfortably on your couch
because you're like,
at home.
I just kind of want to get to the end and be done with this in some ways. Like, obviously you care about the $1 million, but if I was out there for so long, I'd be like, I just want to make it to the end. And that's what they say. They're like, you're out there, you're struggling. Mm-hmm. You don't really know what's going on. You don't see what's on TV. Like you're trying to catch conversations and you're trying to can I trust that person? And yeah, I mean, but yeah, self-awareness is a huge thing because I think there's definitely some people out there that just lack that self-awareness. Like they don't understand how they're coming across to people. I mean, what we see on TV, like they actually said that to the person. Like they're talking to the person and they're coming across like anyone listening to that would be like, wow, this person's like being rude or like, it's just interesting. I think you gotta be a little bit more self-aware.
Which this is interesting. I took that, I don't know how to say it, the Enneagram. Have you seen that? It's like your leadership type personality. It's kind of like Myers-Briggs, but it's like different.
That's cool.
Like
I didn't know you did
test.
that. When did you do that?
Well, I just did it online at lunch at work one day.
Oh.
But it wasn't. I think I lack a certain like self-awareness because when I did it, like it was like it wasn't me. I forget what number you get. A number.
Oh.
It's like a number or something.
That's scary.
Yeah. And it just like I read it, I was like, that's not me at all. And I was like, do I just have like, am I either like very unique or I just have like zero self-awareness when I take these tests?
Well, you don't like tests.
Like, I don't know. It's just interesting. Because when we did like the Myers-Briggs one, I'm still like, I feel like that's not 100% me, but it's hard to say.
Because we come up the same on Myers-Briggs. We're INFJs, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if we're necessarily. But I think we both have things of it, and like it's a label, so it is what it is. Everyone's different and unique.
No one's gonna fit exactly into a box.
But it is like interesting that we're the same personality on there. But I don't.
And
we have a lot of similarities, and that's why we do work really well together. But I just don't. We're not exactly everything it says. We're not. We both don't like
fit exactly.
Prescribe to exactly.
Yeah, exactly. But there is
fit. That's a better word. Prescribed. Yeah, it's just interesting to take those tests and to see what it says. But we definitely do have aspects of it. But they do say that the INFJ is the most rare personality type. So it just seemed weird that we both got it. Like, then we're like, did we do this right?
The most rare one, and we're both it. I don't know. And I wonder how many like couples have the same versus different personality types.
And I wonder how that affects.
Because I feel like certain personality types, if you both were the same, it would really not work well. But I feel like other ones like work really well together, which is interesting. Yeah,
because INFJ is the advocate. So maybe we're just like, we're advocates for each other, and that's why we support each other so well.
We are very good. Yeah, we're good at supporting.
Yeah.
So. But
what do we struggle with the most? I was thinking it's not
we
decision making at times because we're like
eh.
sometimes one of us will just be good with making the decision. Yeah, but there are some times where we're just like, and I guess everyone struggles with that. But
and the introvert part, like sometimes I'm like, man, I just wish one of us had like a little more extrovertism. Like just would make life a little bit easier sometimes.
Yeah, we have to be at a very like high level of thought and intentionality when we're out and about. And
because I'm really not good in the moment. I was thinking about the time we went to.
We are so far off Survivor, but go ahead.
The Starbucks in Harris Teeter, and the lady, they didn't have hot cups, and it was the day it was like snowing. It was like 20 degrees outside, and it's in North Carolina, so everyone's like, oh,
I love these. And Miranda was like,
I like went up and I was like, oh, like I want to get like hot chocolate, and she's like, oh, well, we don't have any hot cups, like no cups to put a hot drink in. I'm like, nobody's buying a Frappuccino right now, like. Yeah,
it was freezing.
And I was like trying to process, but I was like just standing there like what do I do?
I think it was funny watching you struggle with that, but like there is a sense where we both have this like we have this mentality like problem solving, you know? And if we were behind the counter, I'm not going to tell the customer they need to go buy cups from Harris Teeter so that I can serve them a hot drink. Like, you're in Harris Teeter, just go buy some cups. Like, buy some cups yourself so you can sell your hot drinks. Like, Miranda kind of got the brunt of it because she was standing there. I had a little bit more time, like, off to the side to, like come in and be like, okay, we're good. Miranda was just like, like, she didn't say anything. Like,
I was just, like, silently
But, I mean, it's just those things you just cannot understand because, I mean, there's just a lack of, like,
I was just like, I had to go, like, buy, like, a whole tube of, like, styrofoam cups. And I was like, but then I need to get lids, too. And I was like, we already checked out. I don't want to go back. It's like trying to, that decision-making, too, was in there. Like, is it worth it? Let me work it.
Yeah, like, come on, Starbucks. You got to work a little bit harder.
Yeah. So, Survivor.
Starbucks. Survivor. Coffee.
It's also, I feel like we also need to mention Mike, who was the runner-up. He got 3 votes?
Yeah, he did.
3 votes, which is pretty good. Sometimes it's just a complete blowout, and one person is just the obvious winner.
Yeah, and Angelina got 0. But I mean, we could go on and talk about like women in Survivor too. I mean, that's another interesting. Because women and men, but it's totally different. I don't know if you want to talk about Mike. So
yeah, well, we can talk about this for a second. That it just is. It seems a lot harder for a woman to win Survivor because when a woman starts taking that like leadership role, like, oh, I think we should vote for this person next. People tend to do, it's like having a woman CEO where people are like, oh man, she's bossy, like she's too intense, but it's that like you just perceive like a woman should be like, oh, let's all, get together, but when they try to, make those moves, people are just going to immediately like take them out because it's like, like she's bossy, she's nasty.
Yeah, and I think what you just hit on right there is the core of it. Mm-hmm. The core of it is the perception. The perception is that women in whatever kind of leadership role should be kind and generous and understanding, but like for a man in a leadership role, that's not the perception.
They would be like, yeah, he's soft, what's wrong with him?
Yeah, it's okay. And that's just different in gender roles, and men and women are very different, but it is interesting how it affects Survivor in that way because
yeah, and a perfect example of this is this season they had the brochachos. So it was all these like big, and Christian was part of this too. Yeah. Somehow he got wrapped into this.
I loved it.
It was such a positive spin. It was like, we're a bunch of big men in charge. We're just like, we're awesome bros. And it was a very positive like spin on it.
And they weren't like being arrogant or anything. Like it was cool. Like they were like, hey, we're guys group. And that doesn't happen either at Survivor.
But then a previous season, they had these 3 women that were like working together, and they called them the 3 witches. And remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And they were like, it was the same exact thing, just like 3 women like working together, voting together.
Yep.
But they hung out and everything, and they like, instead of like a positive brochachos, it was like there's the 3 witches. And it's just like, why? It's the same exact thing. Just like they were women and they were men. So
yeah. And the brochachos didn't even vote together.
They got
and that's another interesting thing. We could probably look back at Survivors, how many times like there's been like guys in more than 2-person alliance, and how many times there's been females in more than a 2-person alliance. I think the the female like team up has been talked about more from my memory, but I don't think it happens either way. I think that's interesting. Like even within genders, like it doesn't.
It's the same thing that we like to talk about with Amazing Race, because Amazing Race.
Oh yeah, this is great. It's also on CBS. Yeah.
CBS.
It's not the greatest.
This is not sponsored by CBS.
No. I mean, yeah, Amazing Race is what it is.
But it's interesting because on Amazing Race, the best teams are when it's a woman and a male, and you would think having just like, you know, two like burly men, they do like the best, or you know, but it's just, it doesn't work out that way. It's having...
you'd think two men would do the best.
No. Well, that's what people are gonna say. Like,
no, if it's two like athletic guys, you think they're gonna do.
They're gonna do well. Yeah, but
it's like it's so much more than that. I mean, life is so much more than that.
Yeah, but just having like the male female couple, it always seems to work better, because then when they have the challenges where they need to dance or need to like use like serious memory or something, it's just having those differences is a good thing. I don't know. I just think
it's huge. And how many times have we seen that? You know, and they even say in Survivor, one of the biggest, most dangerous things is the power couple.
Yes.
And they do talk about that, and they shut that down as fast as they can if other people see it. So it's the most dangerous thing you can do right now in Survivor, is to get like in a man-woman couple, because it's not a good thing for your Survivor.
Your Survivor game.
Survivor game,
because you know it's a powerful thing, that connection. So.
Yeah, it's more powerful than any other duo, but I think exactly for that reason, because you can do different. You see things through different angles. You're gonna have different relationships with different people. I mean, Survivor-wise.
Yeah, no, I think that's very, very interesting.
Yep.
But we never talked about Mike. So Mike, he had a very interesting game because he's already wealthy. He's already well-to-do. Yep. And he played a very social game, and he was someone that was very well-liked among everybody liked Mike.
Yeah, and he's famous because he wrote School of Rock, and he's been in some of those movies too.
Yeah, so he's doing well for himself.
I think he was in School of Rock. We'll have to watch that again and see him. That'd be cool, actually.
But I read an article, and I forget who were the three that voted for him. It was Christian,
and I think Kara and Allison.
Yeah, but I think it was Kara that said she voted for Mike because it was like a reverse David and Goliath story, because he was a David in a way that he's already wealthy, so people are probably not going to vote for him to win $1 million, because, you know, it's that same switch of something that should be positive turns out to work against you. I
do think we'll talk about the money thing for a second. I'm in the stance that Survivor, because it's evolved so much, doesn't care about that anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think that. I mean, it depends on the players too, because it's always going to be the player's choice at the end. But I think most players respect the game enough that I don't think they weren't going to vote for Mike because he's already wealthy. Like, I don't think. I almost don't even think they're not even really thinking about the $1 million. They're thinking who played the best game.
But
who do we want to give money to? But early on, that was definitely a huge part of the conversation.
But
early on in this
at the end,
seasons.
They always tell their story, and it seems like the people that have like triumphed over more personally tend to, you know, win those like sympathy votes. I think that's a thing.
Yeah, I think sympathy votes are a thing.
Yeah. It's interesting. There's so many things you could just delve into. We could just keep talking forever.
No, because there's so much things that just apply to life, and, you know, the evolution of the show, and like, you know, your own personal growth, and how, you know, the culture is changing. Like, there's just so much. And that's why we love it, because we love those types of discussions. I mean, that's why we do our podcast, to delve deeper into those things. I mean, a Survivor is just, you know, it's just one more level to that. But I mean, it's just the people, the relationships, like, you know, how things work out. And it's just so interesting to us. Like, we're fascinated.
And we love Jeff Probst, so there's that.
I can't believe we haven't said his name yet. Jeff
Probst
is the host of the show, and he is like, he's amazing. He's like 58 or something, and he looks like he's 20.
Yeah, it's crazy. He's just like, and he makes it interesting. He's so passionate about it, and like that's just obvious, and everyone's like gets excited when he's walking out with the little thing. It's like it still doesn't get old after 40 seasons.
Yeah, he loves what he does, and how much is that? You know. How much does that apply to real life? If you love what you do, you know, I think Tony Romo is one of the best, you know, sports announcers, because he loves what he does. Yes. Like, he cares about football.
He gets so excited.
I've heard people over and over say like, yeah, Tony Romo's like a great like commentator, and all these other guys like they're good. Like, they're good at what they do, but they're not great because it's the passion level. And if you have passion for what you do, it can make all the difference, you know. And we can have a whole episode about following your passion and all that stuff. But I mean, at the end of the day, you cannot argue with the fact that if you are super passionate about what you're doing, it's gonna show in your work. It's gonna show, and
it's gonna be successful.
It's gonna, you know, branch itself out to other people, and just the overall effectiveness of whatever you do. So we'll leave you with that. I think that's a good end point.
Yes, that's
have passion
beautiful.
For something, and you know, if you're not doing something you're passionate about, chase after that, and you know, try Survivor. We're passionate about it. We're gonna try to get Miranda on Survivor one day. Maybe Jeff Probst will watch our podcast and he'll be like, "Ooh, that girl's cool."
No, we want to get invited to the live season finale show, but it costs a lot of money, so we need an invite.
That's like goal number 1.
Yeah.
But for you, goal number 1 for me is to get you on Survivor, because like Miranda would be a super awesome Survivor. My sister's really into Survivor as well, and she'd be great. But me and her have both always said for the last couple of years, have said that Miranda would be a great Survivor.
I feel like I would be a Kara, though. I feel like I'd be like...
But Kara didn't win.
I know. I would be...
So
I'm fourth place material.
No! I think...
Wait, where's that confidence?
I think you could win. I mean, I do think, right, it seemed... I don't know. Women have a harder shot to win the game right now. I don't know what the ratios of women winners to men. I just feel like right now...
I feel like it's been more men recently. Because wasn't Denise the last woman that won?
It's been all men recently. Yeah. I mean, I can't think of... Oh, well, Sarah won.
Which season?
Sarah won Game Changers, the one kind of brought us back in. I forgot about that.
I don't. We've watched too many seasons now.
She was a really good player too. You just have to play a little bit different. You know, you can't just be a cute blonde.
Oh.
No, but you can't. You're not gonna win. If you go on Survivor, you need to win.
Yeah, we need $1 million.
Yeah, let's do it.
We can do it.
Yeah.
I'd be here like training, like swimming, doing puzzles every day, like these crazy 3D puzzles. We'll work on it.
We'll send Jeff Probst this video. We probably should just send. We did a whole episode on this. I mean, I would love to be on Survivor. Myself, I need to get the swimming water part.
They all involve water, so yeah, that would
I don't really like water. I'm not a water person. I'm not a buoy. I am a buoy. I don't like being under the water.
Yeah, just float on top.
I'm a buoy. I like it. I don't know how to float though. I'd have to practice and fix some stuff. You'd be great.
Oh, thank you.
Even though, remember when you went for your swimming interview?
Did we talk about this on the podcast?
Okay,
before?
real quick. We gotta cut this off. We're getting close to 45 minutes. Yeah,
we're
gonna end with this story. We just said we're gonna end, but yeah.
When we like quit the retirement home, I was applying to like any sort of job because I was like, I don't know what I want to do next. So I applied to Little Otter Academy, which they they just have cute little swimming lessons for little kids.
Sorry,
and I'm like,
I love this story.
I'm like, man, like I could do that. Like I'm like an okay swimmer. I've never taken like a lesson or anything, but like I don't drown, you know. So
yeah, you can float.
So I went to this interview. It was like a 3-hour interview. I had to buy like a one piece for the interview. It was like a lot of prep and then a lot of time, and
which I mean they take it a little too seriously. Come on, it was like $10 an hour or something, right? Like come on.
Yeah, it was not a lot of money. And so I go and then I have to like watch a class and I have to like go in the water and like just be there for a class, and then they like do the questions, and then I had to do like a swimming test, and so bad. It was just like one of those lanes in a pool, and all I had to, she just was like swim, and so like I just started swimming. She's like, no, like just like the way people like are supposed to swim with your head like under the water, and then like going back and forth, like the front. I don't even know what it's called. Breaststroke.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know why I applied to this job. And so she was like, no, do like that. And then I did that, but then my swimming became very crooked. It was like a zigzag. So I kept hitting the side of the little, like, what do they call them? The lines in the water?
Oh, I don't know.
But
buoys.
The buoys. I kept hitting the buoys. So it was like a zigzag pattern. And I kept like going up for air, like every other stroke, and I was just nervous, and I was like, and like there was still like a bunch of classes going on, and like all the other employees were there, and I was just like, this is really embarrassing because I'm doing a terrible job. But I didn't get the job, but it was a very interesting way to spend like 4 hours.
I would have been like to be a fly on the wall to see the lady's face. She was probably like,
yeah, because it was like, it's like I can swim, but then I was like, maybe I can't swim, but if you're teaching like 2-year-olds. Is it really like...
You don't need to be an Olympic swimmer, but I feel like they were looking for someone like that. I don't know. It was weird.
Anyway, we'll leave you with that. Have a lovely day and a very Merry Christmas.
Yes, you as well. Stay
Christmassy.
Christmassy, friends. Have a good one.